But you're not meant to know God's timing. You're only meant to know his faithfulness. You're not meant to know when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen, where it's going to happen. You're just meant to be faithful in the little things. Every single day, I'm going to trust that dream that God put in my heart. I'm trusting that dream that Christy Holyfield prophesied over me, that Shantae said over me, that Miss McGee just shouted over me sometimes. She'd come in my home, by the way, and she'd start worshiping and speaking in tongues and just anointing the whole house. But she would come and do, I'm telling you, I had no idea that 20 years later, I would be living out the things they spoke over me. But I could have messed it up in 10 seconds. The problem that we're seeing in this generation is not a problem. By the way, let's stop blaming the next generation for the mistakes they make. They're immature. Their brains have not developed yet. They have not matured spiritually. It's okay that they make mistakes. You made the same mistakes, just at a very different level. And God had grace for you, so let's have a little grace for them. I'm not saying we let them slide by, but let's not discredit them when they make mistakes. Let's not tell them they are worthless and hopeless when they make mistakes. Let's not create the same cycles that our family created for us in previous generations when they make mistakes. Instead, let's teach them how to be faithful when they feel forgotten. Let's encourage them to understand there will be seasons of your life no one will see you. You will live in obscurity. No one will give you a title or a position. You'll be cleaning toilets. Oh, did I not mention that? The time when Christy Holyfield, Darian McGee, and Shantae Stevens were prophesying over me, I was cleaning puke off of the floors in the nursery. I was scrubbing poop off the toilets. I was replacing those nasty little brown bags in the women's restroom, ladies. The guys are like, huh? They have brown, what's brown bags? I was the church janitor. I was a nobody. Do you know what people thought of me on Sunday mornings? They thought, where's the guy who's going to clean up my mess? They weren't thinking, hey, when's that kid going to preach? I see something all over him. No, they were like, hey, you got your broom? Hey, another kid puked up their guts. Your turn. I was the one who took out the trash. I was the one who dusted. Nobody was asking me to come preach, to prophesy, to lead the service. No one cared about that. They just cared that the coffee spilled, get it out of the floor before it stained, Stephen. I've lived through seasons of obscurity and felt like I was forgotten. But I had to hold on to those singular moments when God spoke through those women to show me that there was something greater in my life. There was a greater purpose. And let me say this to you. God's not calling everybody to lead a church, to be on a platform. I'm not saying that. But whatever God gives you a dream for, you have to do your best to walk in faithfulness even when you feel forgotten. Because you don't know whose lives you will impact one day. On the job, in your home, in your neighborhood. What has God given you a dream for? I know that the next generation will lead us into a moment in history that will never be forgotten. Because they're smarter than us. They have more discernment than us. They're not relegated to the past. They hate structure. And I know you're thinking, well, that's a bad thing. No, it can be a good thing if blessed properly. They think big thoughts. They dream big dreams. So when is the last time you took these three things into account, sat them down, and had a conversation around these things with them? Or did you immediately go, okay, kid, and walk away? Or did you tell them, it doesn't matter right now, get back to work? Because while there were three women who spoke life into me, who really didn't have authority over my life, there were men in my life who did have authority, who spoke down to me and made me feel so insignificant. I remember being the pastor's sermon illustration one Sunday. And I remember the shame that I felt walking out of that church. because he had just made fun of me on the platform, and people weren't stupid. They knew who it was because of my mistakes. I remember what it was like sitting down with someone I trusted and them telling me, you'll never make it as a pastor. You, of all people, should never start a church. I'll never forget what it was like hearing another pastor that I was serving under at the time, and I said, I feel like God's calling me to start a church. I've never wanted to do this. I don't want to do this. And he said, I wouldn't do it. You're too young. You're too immature. No one will ever give an offering because they won't trust you. No one will ever sit in your church. No one wants to hear you preach. You're not a good communicator. And he just ran down the gambit, let me know why I was not good enough. But a day before that conversation, I had a conversation with another guy that I trusted. I said, hey man, I feel like God's called me to start a church. His reaction was a little different. He goes, dude, that's awesome. Do it. And I go, I don't know how. He goes, who cares? If God gave you a dream, you got to go after it, man. Like, God has called you to this, do it. Can I tell you something? If I hadn't had that recognition before I walked into that second conversation, you probably wouldn't be sitting here today. And I wouldn't be living out my purpose today.